What's up everyone? In today's video I'm going to be putting together this 450 flame wheel quadcopter. This was a kit that I ordered. I think I paid about $80 for it on eBay, and there's tons of different 450 flame wheel kits, and there's actually tons of videos on this. But anyways, I went ahead and bought one of these, and I bought it like a month ago. It was supposed to be here 3 weeks ago, but it got lost in shipping or something like that and ended up getting it a little bit late. So this one uses a KK version 5.5 flight controller, and I'm going to be upgrading this later to a Pixhawk. I'm just waiting for it to come in the mail. I actually got my Graupner transmitter to work with this flame wheel, and I don't think it's going to be working with the Pixhawk as well, so I'm going to have to figure out something there. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with this build. Alright, so this kit actually comes like this, and it honestly only took me about 30 minutes to put it together, and that's with filming, so those of you who aren't filming probably could do this a lot quicker than I can. So here's the flight controller, and yeah, KK version 5.5. Never used one of these. They're kind of a Chinese model. But basically those two wires that are hanging out, those are for your transmitter receiver, and that's what I plugged my Graupner into. And so your ESCs go in the pins on top, and we'll get more in depth with this controller board later on in the video. Alright, so it comes pre-soldered, which is kind of nice, and it has 30 amp ESCs and 1000 kV motors. So this doesn't really come with any instructions, but I'm going to go ahead and put this bottom plate on first, and basically just goes on just like this. And I put two reds in the back, and red's going to be for the rear side of the quadcopter, and then I'll put two whites in the front. And so I'm going to take the thinner small screws, and I'm going to put the thinner small screws that it comes with, the black ones, and screw them in just right here. Alright, so once we get our screw in, hey, and this tool that I'm using is actually a tool from GearBest. It's called the Wow Stick, and I didn't really think anything of it, but I'm actually starting to really like this tool. So it's electronic, but it locks into place when the electronic, like if you don't like engage the motor, so you can actually unscrew with it and screw with it, and it's actually, so far I'm really liking this tool, and I wasn't going to do a separate review video for it, but I think I might, just because I actually really like this tool. And so you could just hit the button and it moves forward and screws it down for you, and then once it gets to its tightest point, then you can actually just screw it in just like so. And you could actually just remove a screw without actually engaging the motor. So it's kind of a cool tool. I'm actually starting to really like it. Alright, let's go ahead and just speed this up. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the KK Multicopter Control Board version 5.5. So basically right here where this arrow is, this is your direction of flight. So you want to place basically this tip on where you want to go forward at, and I'll show a little bit more detail in here in a second. Here's how you adjust your gains for your yaw, pitch, and roll, and right here is your transmitter. Now with the transmitter, when you plug it into your transmitter, I should say, you'll actually only need one of these sections fully connected, and then after that you could just plug in the signal wires, and basically right here your ground and your power, and then your signal. So basically, yeah, shoot. Okay, start over. 1, 2, 3. So here we have our transmitter section, and we only have to plug in one full connection to our transmitter, because that will provide power to our transmitter, and you don't need to provide not all these need the power and grounds need to be plugged in. Only one section does. So basically you plug in this section, and let's say this is your throttle. and then you have your aileron, elevator, and rudder right here. You only need the signal wires plugged in. You don't need another power or ground plugged in. It'd just be kind of redundant to do that. But you can. It doesn't hurt nothing. But I'm just saying you could just have this all signal. And so, and how it came, actually, it came with the correct wiring for it, and I'll show you more in detail later. So here we have the ESCs and how the ESCs work, and we're using the X-copter. So this is our motor 1, 2, 3, and 4. So ESC 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so ESC 1, 2, 3, and 4 get plugged in right here. This board actually supports 6 ESCs. So 6 motors it will actually support. And again, for the X-copter, so you can see our rolls right here. So that means our forward of flight is going this direction. You can also see that motor 1 is going clockwise, motor 2 is counterclockwise, and then also motor 3 clockwise, motor 4 counterclockwise. So we need to make sure our motors are spinning the correct direction as well. And you can see that they actually provide a lot of different type of setups that you can do. Alright, so let's go ahead and get back to the build. Alright, so it comes with double-sided sticky tape, and you can cut it to sides for your board. And basically you're just going to place it right here. And this double-sided sticky tape kind of helps with vibrations. And it's actually, in the test video, I think the double-sided sticky tape actually causes too much vibrations, and you'll see that it kind of is wobbly. But then again, I didn't calibrate it either when I did the test. But anyways, I placed the control board right here, and that arrow is facing forward, and I tried to make it as centered as possible, just like so. Next, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the ESCs into the flight control board, and with this you can see that our yellow is our signal wire, our red is our power, and brown will be our ground. And this is how it should look. Just make sure the wires are correctly placed. You don't want that signal where that ground is. Power is in the center, so no really worries there. Just make sure everything's correctly placed on there. Next, we're going to go ahead and place the motor on here. The first time I placed this motor on, I noticed it was crooked really bad, and it took me a little bit to kind of figure out why. So basically, I found that there's a little lip of stuff, like extra plastic. So I just took a spatula right here, and I ended up just cutting it off. And I had to do that for each area where you put the motor on there. After you get everything leveled off, you're going to use these bigger black screws that comes in the kit. And you're just going to go ahead and make sure the wires are facing along with the shaft of the quadcopter, of the frame I should say. And yeah, just screw in all 4 screws. Alright, so once our motor is in place, this is going to be for later, but this is how these propeller connectors go on. And so basically you just slide it down the motor shaft and then screw it down like that, and you'll screw it tight with the propeller. But I'm just showing you how it works now. Alright, so next let's go ahead and plug in the motor into the ESC. And how I do it is I just match the center wires. So I match the center wire for the motor and the center wire for the ESC. And then more than likely you're going to have to switch the outer 2 to get it to go the direction you want it to. But that'll be later. Next, I'm going to go ahead and zip tie the ESC to the frame. And I'm not going to do anything spectacular. I'm just going to tighten it down, and later I'm going to try to do a 3D print over the frame to kind of make the whole quadcopter look cool in general, but that'll be later. Alright, so once we have all 4 motors and ESCs plugged in and in place, I'm going to go ahead and show you the Gropner receiver. And basically, like I said, you just need one line fully connected in, which will power the receiver. And then you just plug in just the signal wires for, let's say, the rudder, aileron, and elevator. And that's just how I plugged in my Gropner. And so now that we have the receiver all connected in, we can go ahead and power it up. And I'm going to go ahead and test, and make sure whenever you test these things, don't put the props on. Basically, I'm just testing, make sure the motors are running, and then later on I'm going to go ahead and test and make sure they're running the right direction. And so I'm just making sure it's spinning and that the gyros are working as well. So I'm just kind of moving everything around and making sure everything is working properly. Next, once I have established everything is working, I'm going to go ahead and now put the top brace plate on, just like so. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put the battery strap in, and I really don't like this battery strap because it doesn't tighten down the battery tight enough. It feels like it's a little too loose, so I can see this definitely as an upgrade, maybe something that I can 3D like make something on Fusion 360 and then 3D print it. Now I'm just going to make sure that the motors are spinning in the correct direction. And also these plugs, I hate these plugs, so I'm going to go ahead and replace those later on. But for now I'm just going to use what it came with. And so I'll turn on the transmitter and we're going to test the motors. Alright, let's go ahead and check the motors, make sure they're spinning the correct direction. So this first motor right here, this should be spinning clockwise, and it is, so that one's good. And this one should be spinning counterclockwise, number 2. And so this one's not spinning in the correct direction, so I'm going to go ahead and unplug that yellow wire and the black wire and just switch those 2 wires. And it should spin counterclockwise after that. And it does. So, and we're going to just go ahead and repeat this, so that third motor should be spinning clockwise as well. And this one is spinning clockwise, so we're going to go ahead and work on number 4, which should be counterclockwise, again replacing or switching the yellow and the black wire. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and install the propellers. And just a note that the propellers, there's for the clockwise and counterclockwise propellers, and the only way to tell the difference between the propellers is on the 2 that I have. They have an R on there, and so that's the counterclockwise propellers, the ones with the R. I'm guessing that it stands for reverse. So those will go on 2 and 4, the R ones. Alright, so this is how it looks, and we are now ready for a test flight. Alright, so the reason why you're seeing it so wobbly is because I didn't calibrate the flight controller beforehand. There's a whole process on how to calibrate it. But I'm just doing a little test flight, and I'm actually surprised how well it's actually flying without it being calibrated. And yeah, so basically I'm not going to calibrate this flight controller at all because I plan on getting it, well, I have a Pixhawk coming in the mail. And once it comes in, I'm just going to install the Pixhawk and a GPS as well. And so if you want to see those videos, stay tuned. Please subscribe. But yeah, so that concludes this video. If you found this video helpful or you just like the content, please give me a thumbs up. And thank you for your support. And thank you for watching.